Welcome to MedCircle. I'm Kyle Kittleson, joined today by Dr. Lamb. Dr. Lamb, thank you for being here. This is your first time on MedCircle. I'm sorry we couldn't do this in person, but I'm glad we could do it virtually. Why don't we start off with an introduction on who you are and what your role is providing mental health care in your community?
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks for having me. I am Dr. Kristy Lamb. I am a psychiatrist. I'm also trained and board certified in family medicine as well. I am the co-founder and CEO of Bold Health. We are a mental health clinic here in Encinitas, California, and we treat primary mental health as well as substance abuse, and have been up and running since 2017. I trained at Georgetown in general medicine. That's where I went to medical school, and then came to UCSD here in San Diego for a combined residency in family medicine and psychiatry, and have been dual practicing ever since.
Well, I want to start off from the top saying thank you for providing your time, giving your information and insight. It's always valuable, but especially during these very uncertain times. So thank you from me, and thank you from our MedCircle members. In this session, we're going to talk about the triangle of conflict. What is this?
Yeah, so the triangle of conflict is a theory, a psychoanalytic theory that was first really formulated concretely by David Malin, but is based actually off of a lot of the Freudian original concepts of the unconscious processes that really drive anxiety and our symptomatology in regard to mental health. So it's a very basic concept that basically states that our deep core feelings, 5 to 6 different philosophers will posit different kind of core feelings, but deep core feelings at some point in our lives, most of us were told are not okay. We shouldn't have them. Those feelings get pushed down, and this is the bottom of the triangle, feelings, and anxiety goes up. So anxiety is one other kind of part of this triangle. So any of us who may have experienced trying to hold back tears, maybe in a movie, or, not trying to keep feelings in, you'll notice that your throat might get a little bit tight. You may start to get a little shifty, right? A little bit avoidant, right? Anxiety goes up, and then anxiety feels really uncomfortable, basically by definition. And so then we do things, what we would call defenses, to avoid feeling that anxiety, to regulate that anxiety. But really at the core, defenses keep us from feeling those deep core feelings that we in our childhood learned are forbidden, that we shouldn't or can't feel these feelings. There'll be a problem in relationship. So we push them down, we get anxious, and then we defend through. Now, defenses can be anywhere from going for a run, right? So if I'm angry, I push it down, I might get a little anxious in my body and I might go for a run. That might be a really healthy discharge. It doesn't actually have me going back and actually dealing with the core feeling that I'm having, but it's a healthy release. But the defenses can also become more destructive or more pathological things this is where our symptomatology for mental health can come in. So this is where we can dump into depression, self-attack, isolation, avoidance, drinking or drugging. And so this triangle of conflict has become really the foundation of the therapy that I do in conjunction with medication management with patients, so that we can really understand the core processes that are going on, that mental health is really, there's twofold. There's the biological piece of neurotransmitters and kind of inborn temperament, brain structure, electrical activity. But there's also a huge component that is actually more malleable, which is our psychodynamic relationship to ourselves and to others. And this is the place where therapy really plays a big role. So this is the place where when we can understand why we're dumping into depression, or our cravings for substances go up, or OCD symptoms are higher because of things that have been going on in our lives, we can feel a sense of control, that we can intervene in a different way.
Okay, so this triangle of conflict then has 3 main points. The first point, if I'm understanding correctly, are the cognitive distortions or misperceptions we have that likely came from how we were raised. And these can be limiting beliefs or the thought of I'm not good enough, but however those manifest for an individual. Those types of feelings, of course, lead to anxiety, which is the second part of the triangle. And then we try to cope, whether we're doing so consciously or subconsciously, to curb that anxiety. In the best case scenario, we might go for a run, but we're still not dealing with the core issues. In a worst case scenario, we might turn to drugs and alcohol, and then we're definitely not dealing with any of the issues correctly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, if you think of an example of this, right, I could get angry at my husband for something he's really done, like really be pissed at him, right? I also love him. So the anxiety often comes up in the midst of mixed feelings. So anger towards someone that I also love can be really hard to hold. Most of us have been told it's not okay to be angry. I'll give you something to be angry about. We learned that anger is not okay. So we push it away. But anytime we push away a feeling, we get anxious. So then I may beat myself up and say, gosh, if I hadn't, if I'm angry at my husband for, coming home late. Well, if I had let him know, or if I had helped him so that he could have gotten out the door earlier, then this wouldn't be a problem, right? I'm turning it back on myself in some way. So defensively, rather than feel my anger directly towards him, I get anxious and I turn it back on myself. I may feel anger, get anxious, and say, screw him, I'm going to go have a drink. I could say, I'm going to go for a run. Lots of different things that I could do, healthy or unhealthy. It's keeping me from actually getting in connection with this deep core feeling of anger, which is really important. The feeling of anger is letting me know I'm not okay with my husband's behavior right now.
Right.
And I want to address this. Right. And so anger moves us, if we allow ourselves to really feel it, to set a boundary, to say, hey, hon, I love you, love. And what you did made me angry.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we could talk about this. Right. So when we can tolerate the feeling, we can actually then engage in a healthy way.
Okay, so that sounds really nice on paper, but when I am angry at somebody, especially in a long-term romantic relationship, it is so hard for me to feel angry and then use that feeling to very calmly say, hi, I love you, but I would love to talk about this thing. I'm going, why did you do that? Why do you think that would be okay? So how do I understand what you're saying. Yeah. But how do I actually put that into practice? Because that's difficult.
Absolutely. And so this is where I see many of my patients, this is the primary work that we're doing together, is to help them really feel deeply their feelings, even the painful ones, even the hard ones, so that they can feel regulated in it without feeling anxious. Because if I'm feeling anxious over my anger and I haven't completely repressed it, I might say, I'm so angry. Right? And that's where anger plus anxiety can lead to discharge, can need to be being me saying, oh, I'm so pissed. Why did you do this? You're the worst, right? That's discharging out my anger. Because really, a feeling is nothing more than a physiological response in the body. So if my husband does something that pisses me off, my chest expands, I feel heat in my body. And I don't know if you noticed, but your hands went like this, right? I've clenched fists or hands like this, right? That's all anger is. It's just a physiological sensation in the body. So if I can tolerate that and not get anxious over it, and I can notice my jaw clench, and I can take a deep breath, I can say, that makes me really angry.
Ooh, that's powerful.
But only when I'm grounded.
Right.
Only when I'm not getting anxious over these feelings. So if I get anxious over my anger, I feel out of control. I often will do things I wish I didn't, or say things I wish I didn't say. But if I can take a deep breath, regulate my anxiety over my anger, I can be very clear. And I feel like this is kind of my life's purpose, is to free anger from the stigmatization that this is a horrible thing. It's actually this beautiful emotion that lets us more deeply connect with other people. Mm-hmm. That if I can really tell you, hey, what you're doing is actually pushing me away, is making me angry, and we can work through that, that actually deepens our relationship. So I can be the most rational, the most grounded when I let myself fully feel all of these feelings.
Now, if you're able to do that, that's wonderful. What if your spouse is unable to meet you there and you approach them and say, hey, look, I love you so much. And this thing that happened, I felt myself get really angry. And instead of me boiling over this. I just wanted to bring it to you and see if we could at least talk about it, or maybe even find a solution, which sounds beautiful. But then they respond with, well, what do you mean you're angry? You're so sensitive. Gee, and then they meet you with that type of emotion. How should we respond to that?
Such an important point. Yeah. And so it's actually something that I often, in couples therapy, often, sometimes people say, oh, we need to work on gratitudes, or we need to work on being more loving. I'll actually say you actually need to work on being angry with each other. That we need to cultivate the space to say, not only do I want to let you know that I'm angry, I also want to work on being able to accept your anger without immediately getting defensive.
Yes.
If I get defensive, we can't have a conversation, and then you're going to meet me here. So it's such an important point. So a technique that I have coined the term leaning into the defenses, right? And so if somebody says, you're so sensitive, and you just say yes, because I'm having feelings to this. So you're exactly right. I am being maybe a little overly sensitive to this, because if we lean in, you can't fight somebody who's agreeing with you.
Oh, absolutely. That shut the whole thing down. When you said that, I just started nodding, because that shuts the whole thing down.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? And in the past, I've gotten really aggressive, and I know that sometimes these conversations, when we talk about things where I'm upset, I can be kind of awful, and I don't want to do that. So I'm wondering if we could come back and we could talk about this in a different way this time. So lean into the defense and then ask for what you want, right? Yeah, but you always do that. I do, don't I? I do. Yeah. And so I would love for this to go differently, because I notice this anger coming up and I don't want to pull away from you. I actually want to connect with you, right? And this is a really important point, is that anger is actually connecting. When you can actually be received for your anger, it makes us feel incredibly safe, because then I can be angry and you can still love me. We can still be connected.
Absolutely. This is really great. And I appreciate you letting me play devil's advocate here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what happens though when somebody perhaps has misplaced sensitivity, meaning if I forgot to take the garbage out.
Yep.
Right? I just forgot. I was busy. Absolutely. And my spouse comes in and says, that really upset me that you forgot to take that. And we need to have we need to have a conversation about the fact that I forgot to take the garbage out. I would be annoyed that this little minute thing that I'm viewing it as is causing us to have a full-blown conversation. So I guess I'm asking, where is the line between, all right, let's get in touch with our anger and be communicative, to, are you kidding me? You need to have a little more resilience.
Well, it sounds like then you're angry towards the partner.
Yeah.
And then we need to have a conversation about that.
You're right.
Right?
You're so right.
And the idea with the couples that I talk with, it's when the person tells you they're angry, what we can do is say, I'm never working to make you angry. So can we maybe understand this a little bit better? I had so much on my plate, and I really do. I hope I really do try to do my load, and I usually take out the trash, but I know that we had all of these things going on, and there was and so I forgot. And so I'm sorry that I forgot. And I hope that makes sense. And the other caveat to that is, sometimes we are just trying to piss our partners off, right? And can we own it? This past weekend, I was kind of being a jerk to my husband. He's like, what? I was like, I don't even know why I'm angry. I am being a jerk. And then I could own it, right? And then we could talk through that, right? And so the idea that if I'm being overly sensitive, if I'm being undersensitive, all of it is okay if we can talk about it. I may not even know why I'm angry. I may not know why I'm being overly sensitive, right? Yet that partner could say, gosh, I know you always take the trash out. I don't know what's going on. There's probably something else underneath, because it's usually not about the trash, right? It's about something else.
Right.
And so just starting the conversation, I have a mentor who talks about this idea that the feelings are the light bulb. So if we let the feeling through, it may not make sense. We may not completely understand it, but if we let the light of feeling illuminate the room, we'll see all we saw was the trash, But as we feel the anger, we can look and see, oh, it wasn't the trash can. It was the fact that I haven't felt connected to you. And so I'm being pissy about this thing that has nothing to do with the trash, but I miss you and I want to connect. Right. So if we can allow the feeling to just, again, illuminate what's really going on, we usually do the flip. It's like, I can't feel unless it's justified. I can't feel unless I know that it's accurate. But, if we put you in an fMRI and show you your partner not taking out the trash, your amygdala is going to fire 200 milliseconds before your brain goes, that's really annoying. Right? So the feeling comes first. The feeling comes from the stimulus. And then we can think about it and understand it, try and negate it and act like we're not angry, but we are. Yes. And it may not make sense. It's like, it's just the trash can. Why am I so upset? But I am.
Yes. And it's like you said, it's not about the trash.
Exactly.
That's the vehicle in which this is coming to surface. Yep. That's good, Dr. Lamb. Pretty good. You're setting the bar pretty high here. This is the first one. We're recording a lot of videos today. This is our first one. So, okay. Now we've talked about the relationships part of this triangle. Mm-hmm. How could this apply? And I'll let you choose an example of a workplace issue and how we can be aware of our thoughts to navigate that more effectively.
Yeah, so I find this comes out a lot. And I think that as we're talking about this whole triangle, we're thinking about this idea that when we push down feelings, anxiety goes up. And the higher our anxiety is, the more we're going to probably go to less helpful defenses. So higher anxiety, often worse defenses. So if I'm a little bit anxious or stressed during the week and my husband pisses me off, right, I might be a little bit snippy or something. But if I'm really stressed, I might, snap back at it. I might really kind of take it over the edge. And so just modulating and noticing our baseline level of anxiety can be really helpful. And in the workplace, we've seen this recently with a lot of stress going on in work environments, that people who might otherwise be able to navigate a conflict in a healthy way, that they may be more likely to be potentially, some people get really demanding. Some people go passive when they're feeling really anxious. Some people get really controlling. And so I've even seen in our own office here, right, that some of that going head to head, where a small thing going on, people having a difference of opinion about how a policy should roll out or how we should do things, right? Feelings get pushed down. There's some sense that there's some frustration, but we're not really allowing the feelings to be. Anxiety goes up, and then somebody gets really controlling or sends out 17 emails because their way of discharging anxiety is through spreadsheeting and emailing, right?
I've met that person.
Yeah, I am that person. Not to point any fingers, right? But, so if we can notice, right? And I mean, if I'm up at 3 a.m. sending an email, like, I need to check myself. I need to notice, wow, this is my defensive pattern. I need to really check in and say, okay, what's going on right now? Where is this anxiety and what's coming up underneath this? And I'm feeling like I have to detail everything. What feelings am I noticing as we're trying to shift to more things to virtual or whatever we're kind of navigating? Wow, I'm anxious because I got a lot of feelings about this. I'm frustrated. There's some grief about losing some of the in-person groups as we go to virtual. So there's all these feelings that come up. And if I'm not navigating them or noticing them and sharing them and creating space to kind of process all of this, my anxiety can go up and I can take it out on the computer.
Don't you think that we live in a world more than ever where people are doing everything possible to avoid feeling even remotely bad? And I've noticed I will do that with my phone. As soon as I feel irritated, annoyed, frustrated, tired, whatever, I go, well, let me get on Instagram. And now my mind's thinking about this person I don't know on Instagram and blah, blah, blah. And I'm constantly avoiding my feelings. And then at the end of the day, when I try to go to sleep and I put my phone down for the first time, my brain goes, excuse me, Kyle, all those feelings you suppressed, we have to address right now.
Yeah.
And then of course I'm like, well, I'm going to take a melatonin and try to avoid them even further.
Yeah.
And you do that for months and years, and all of a sudden this problems.
Absolutely. And this, kind of, I have a different way of conceptualizing a lot of mental health in that I prescribe medications. I am board certified psychiatrist. I use the DSM in order to speak to other providers, but really that's the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual that kind of gives criteria for specific mental health disorders. But based on this triangle of conflict, I really psychodynamically conceptualize mental health symptoms as just that, as symptoms, right? That there's this unresolved issue that's dumping into something, whether it be substances or OCD symptoms or binging and purging or cutting, right? I'm not gonna feel anger towards you. I'm gonna get anxious and I'm gonna cut myself, right? And it can really dump into depression as well. So this can be a huge place where we can isolate, avoid, and numb. I had a patient who had OCD, tics, severe depression, had just come out of the hospital. And we noticed that as soon as she had any conflict in her life with anyone in her life, she would dump massively into depression, isolate, couldn't get out of bed. And the more that we could give her access to just letting it be okay that she had these mixed feelings, her depression resolved. And now she comes in smiling and, saying, I had no depressive symptoms last week. I was really pissed at my mom. It's like, great, right?
We've all been there, yeah.
Right, I could notice I was angry. She didn't even have to do, it wasn't anything that, her mom wasn't doing anything egregious, right? But she could just notice that even these little small things that she kept pushing down were building and building and building and just dumping into depression. And so the more that we can allow ourselves to be free to feel exactly what we feel, the less all of these symptoms come in. And I see that again and again and again clinically.
Excellent. I hope people are taking notes to this. This is simple stuff, but impactful stuff once you can realize it. Dr. Lamb, thanks for sharing some of your time with us today. We'll have more from Dr. Lamb, so make sure you check the links below this video. I'm Kyle Kittleson. Remember, whatever you're going through, you got this.